In Danmachi as Arthur Leywin. Chapter 1, Beginning. So you killed me because you need inspiration for your new fanfic? Asked the recently dead soul while looking at the ROB in front of him. Yup, that's about it, so you have two options. First, you decline my offer, and I will send your soul to hell, or you accept my offer. Said the ROB with a neutral face. Well, I don't have a choice here, so how will the reincarnation work? Do I get wishes or something? Asked the soul, hopeful it would quickly get overpowered. Well, yes, but actually not. You have two choices. First, you get sent to a random world with a few wishes, or you spin the character wheel, but you get to choose the world. Soul POV. So I get to choose my powers is good, but the possibility of the world being some messed up world is high, or I pick the world with the possibility of getting useless powers. Remembering the world that shall not be named, I quickly chose the safe option and answered the ROB. I chose the wheel. After I said that, ROB started murmuring something that I could not hear, but something told me I had made a good choice. After a while, he snapped his fingers, and a wheel appeared with different names. I could see characters like Rimuru Tempest, Shigo Kageyama, Kuro-sensei, and many others. So, kid, let's run down how this will work. I spin the wheel, and the person it lands on will be your future, so make sure to make an interesting story because I need to win the competition. But first, choose your world. Ignoring the competition comment, I started thinking, I need a world where I can survive and become strong even if I get a weak character. Oh, and a world with magic because why would I reincarnate in a normal world when I can go to a world with magic? After thinking for a while, I decided on Danmachi. Why? Because even if I get some weak character, I can get strong with the Falna, and if we don't think about the one-eyed black dragon, Evelus, and some adventurer thugs, it should be easy to survive. If I get a strong character, it will be even easier. I want to go to Danmachi. After I said that, the wheel started spinning by itself and went past many good characters, but it began to slow down after a while. Minoru Mineta Mumen Rider Ichiya Khan. As I saw it stop, I wanted to break everything, but my shitty luck started to work, and the wheel moved on the last bit and landed on Arthur Leywin. TSK, I was hoping you would become a teddy bear, but it seems you had some luck today. Anyway, I hope you will make an excellent story for me, and with that, I welcomed the darkness with a smile. I started to regain my senses. I could feel the cold, and when I tried to move, nothing happened when I opened my eyes. All I could see were trees. Seeing I was alone in the middle of nowhere, I decided to do what every intelligent person would scream until someone found me. After what seemed like hours, I heard some footsteps, which could mean two things. First, someone will save me, or two, I will become some beast's snack. A child. I saw a familiar older man, but I could not remember where I saw him. He seemed to think about something before picking me up. It seems your parents left you here, so what do you say want to come to live with my granddaughter and me? I didn't know if he was stupid or expected me to reply, but for some reason, I felt I could trust him, so I did my best to answer by giving him a laugh. Well, it seems like little Bella will get a brother, but what should I name you? He looked at me for a while, then at the blanket I was tugged in, and after a while, said, Arthur Leywin, it seems your parents left you with a good name. He started walking with me, but then something clicked. Belle, the main protagonist of this world, granddaughter Bella, old man. That means, oh no. Before I could think more about it, my eyes started to get heavy, and sleep overtook me. Arthur Leywin POV. It has been 2 years since I was reincarnated and adopted by Zeus, or as I call him, Grandpa. I first learned that Belle doesn't exist in this world, but there is something more dangerous. My cute little sister Bella, this little thing is the most adorable little creature. Her first word was border when she said that Grandpa started sulking in the corner while muttering something about life and already being a lady killer, but I didn't pay attention because Bella's first word was brother. I swore an oath to myself. If someone mortal or God did something to my cute innocent little sister, I would go full and gray on them. For my appearance, I thought I would look exactly like the original Arthur Leywin, but I didn't have the auburn hair or blue eyes. I looked like Arthur while using Realm Heath with white hair and purple eyes, and to be honest, I liked it because Bella and I looked more like real siblings. During those years, I also started meditating and forming my mana core. Because ROB reincarnated me as Arthur Leywin, I got all his powers, but to access them, I need to create my mana core, so that's what I have been doing in my spare time. Still, something that bothers me is the assimilation process, but that's for future me to worry about. Over a year has passed, but I'm finally done forming my mana core. Only the last few particles are left, and I'm meditating away from our house, so Grandpa doesn't see me forming my mana core. Him being a god and all, should probably tell him I'm different, but I could lie my way through, saying I somehow awakened my magic. Of course, it would not be a complete lie, so he should not know it, but boom. After a while, I looked around and saw the ground and a few trees destroyed, but that didn't matter now. So instead, I concentrated on the spot where my core should be, and there it was, a black mana core I had spent almost 3 years making. I could make it faster, but I wanted to spend time with Grandpa and Bella, so the next thing on my to-do list is to progress my mana core and begin the assimilation process for the beast will I could feel attached to my core. That means I could only progress my mana core level once the assimilating was complete, but I still had 11 years to get stronger. As I started walking home, I tripped over something and fell headfirst to the ground. Erg, everything was blown away by the explosion. What did I step on? As I looked down there, I saw a rock, so I picked it up, but then it hit me. It wasn't a rock but something I didn't expect to see in this world. An egg, more specifically, the egg Arthur got from Sylvia. This was also the day I changed my oath to protect not only my cute little sister but also my cute little daughter. Chapter 2, Assimilation Arthur Leywin POV. When I stepped inside our house, I could hear Grandpa cooking dinner in the kitchen while little Bella was playing with her toys. Finally, she seemed to notice my arrival and ran to hug me. Big brother, read me another story. Ah yes, my little sister is already addicted to the hero stories Grandpa has been reading to us, and when he is busy working or doing something else, I will read them. But, of course, a 3-year-old being able to read perfectly would be suspicious. So, I would pretend not always to know some words, but during the past years, I always acted to learn things fast to avoid suspicions from Grandpa. So I also played with my toys, mainly my wooden sword, which I would try to learn how to use. I seemed to know how to wield the sword, which I believed was ROB that somehow gave me the fighting experience of Arthur Leywin without giving me his actual memories, so it felt like I knew how to use a sword, but at the same time, I knew nothing. I was broken out of my thoughts when Grandpa noticed my arrival. Ah, Arthur, you're back. Did you find a wife? But, of course, Grandpa is the same as always. What normal grandparent would tell a 3-year-old kid that they should make a harem? I understand that this is Danmachi, but I never understood the idea of having a harem. I would be happy to have just one. I decided to joke around with him and answered, Of course, and soon you will get a grandchild. I said that while checking on the egg in my pocket, but Grandpa seemed to stare at me, and then I realized that he could not feel any lie coming from me, and I knew I needed to fix it. Hee hee, you should see your face right now, Gramps. But when I was walking in the forest today, I found a dead black cat with scales that was protecting this egg, so I decided to take it with me and take care of it like a child. Hee hee. He seemed to sigh in relief, but the big question was how would I even do it? I'm 3. I haven't seen a cat with scales in my whole life. It seems this world still holds many mysteries. He said while looking at the egg, and knew I didn't tell the truth about how I found the egg, so I decided to divert the topic from my soon-to-be dragon daughter. So, Gramps, did something happen today? Now that you ask, a green-haired swordsman got lost and started asking for directions, but I got distracted for a while, and he disappeared. Green-haired swordsman. I remember someone like that, but I lost the memory of him. Better not think about it. Let's not worry about him. He probably found what he was looking for while I will prepare the table for dinner. Bella seemed to agree after hearing about the food, so Grandpa returned to the kitchen to finish the food while I prepared the table. A few days have passed. Grandpa is out and working while Bella and I are home alone. I'm meditating, trying to improve my core, while Bella is looking at the egg on my bedside table with sparkling eyes. During the few days, I looked at my core, and the beast will attach to it. I found something interesting. The beast will hasn't fully connected to my core, and it seems it is getting close to my core. I guess ROB wanted me to have time to progress my mana core before I assimilate with the will. So I spent the last few days meditating and trying to learn mana rotation. The technique allows the user to continuously absorb mana from the atmosphere while moving or in combat and will be crucial when I become an adventurer. So I continued my meditation, purifying my core while Grandpa was out, playing with Bella, and trying to get used to using a sword while pretending to be playing. This routine continued for the following months. I woke up feeling like my whole body was burning inside out. The last 6 months flew by. I'm currently 4, and today is the day my beast will fully connected to my core. So now I need to start the assimilation process. It is easy but will take a few years to complete. The assimilation is a process of slowly dispersing mana from the core and seeping it into the body, letting the muscles and bones absorb mana. It's a slow process and requires meditation. It took Arthur 3 years to completely assimilate his body with Sylvia's will. But thanks to me being solid red with cracks, it should allow me to finish it quicker. Usually, I would start it now, but not today. That's because today is Bella's birthday and the merchant will come to the village, so I need to get a birthday present for Bella. The pain in my body is nothing. Getting a gift for my cute little sister is my top priority. So I quickly put on some clothes and went outside. I didn't spend much time outside. I was mainly training at home, but that didn't mean I never went out. Of course, I needed to keep the boys away from my sister. Does that make me an overprotective brother? Probably, but who wouldn't protect that cute little rabbit? Arriving at the center of the village, I could already see the merchant cart. This merchant often comes back here while coming back from Orario. Sometimes he comes here with his daughter Lucy. She and Bella became good friends and have the same hobby of reading hero stories. He seems like a good guy and often tells me about what is happening in Orario. Hello, Mr. Vince. Oh, Arthur here to ask more about the city. Not today. I need to get a present for Bella. I see I have something she would love. He looked for something inside the cart and returned with a book. This is a new book I got. It's about a hero for fun. The kids in Orario love it. It looked like something Bella would love, so I bought it, and after asking some questions about the adventures like if someone leveled up and other stuff, I went home. Let's say she told me I was her favorite brother. Well, I'm her only brother, but still. Chapter 3, KYU. Arthur Leywin. I was sitting on a stone in the forest just outside the village, letting the mana from my core seep and fuse into my muscles and bones. It's a slow process that took me 3 years to complete, but it will be necessary for my future. How will my mana core level equate to a fauna level? Still, with the assimilation process almost complete, I should be able to compete with a veteran level 1 adventurer and pull a good fight against a veteran level 2. Fauna is the grace given by gods and goddesses to their familia members. Therefore, adventurers and supporters can gather Excelia to raise their status and grow stronger. That is an easy way to get strong, but the problem is that if something happens to the god, you become a normal person again. The god could not update your status or lock the fauna, so I want to get stronger on my own first to have a backup if something like that happens. But back to the assimilation, I'm almost complete, and I only need to send a large amount of mana into my core. The problem is that I don't have anyone to do it for me, so I came up with a stupid idea. By focusing the surrounding mana in the air around me, augmenting myself with some of it, and forcing it into my core. That leads to this moment, focusing on the mana in the air, I start slowly pulling it towards me. Being an augmenter, not a conjurer, this was a complicated process with my current core level, but after a while, I had enough mana around myself, so I pushed it into my core. Gray. I yelled in pain as my whole body was in pain. It was like my body was filled with magma. This continued for the next few seconds and disappeared as fast as it appeared. My body was covered in sweat, and my eyes felt heavy. Then, before I could even do anything, everything went black. I woke up with a slight pain, probably from the stone I passed out on. Looking at the sky, I could tell a few hours had passed, so I pushed myself onto my legs and went home so Grandpa would not worry about me, and that was when it hit me. Sylvie. I started running home, remembering the egg on my bedside table and what should happen now after the first phase of my beast will activated. Without even thinking, I augmented my body and ran home. Without slowing down, I entered the house and ran to my room, not bothering about the surprised look Grandpa had when he saw an ordinary boy without a blessing run at such a high speed. But when I saw the colorful egg in front of me, I stopped. The crack started to get bigger, and before I could do anything else I could see her looking at me. Q. The little dragon said with a confused look before jumping from the table and biting me on my arm. A mark burned itself on my arm while Sylvie looked at me with a smile that could rival my sister's. Q. Mama. I knew she bonded with me, and we could talk in our minds, but still, it was a weird feeling. Q. Mama. No, 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 I'm a boy, call me Papa. Q. Papa. Yes, Papa, and your name is Sylvie. Q. Sylvie. After hearing her name, she started to jump around on my bed while I looked at her with a smile before a voice snapped me out. Arthur. I looked to my side and saw Grandpa watching Sylvie and me, probably still confused, and we just looked at each other without saying anything. Thankfully the silence was broken when my sister stuck her head through the door and saw Sylvie, and her eyes started to sparkle with stars. What is this? It's so cute. She went to look at Sylvie, and they began to look at each other, Bella with excitement and Sylvie with confusion. This is Sylvie. She just hatched from the egg. Say hi Sylv. Q. Hi. Bella started to pet Sylvie on the head, which Sylvie seemed to enjoy, but when I looked at Grandpa, he seemed to want to talk to me about something. I was sitting at the table with Grandpa on the other side. He looked at me for a while and then said, "Arthur, listen, ever since you were little, I knew you were special, and for the past 4 years, I could feel something different about you, but today when you returned home, you ran with speed comparable to a veteran level 1 adventurer." After he said it, I started thinking of the best way to explain it. Running while augmenting my body maybe wasn't the best idea, but when I remembered Sylvie I didn't think about anything and just run. So I decided to tell him about my magic and how I found Sylvie. It is something I just knew ever since I was born. It's like ever since I was born I had the knowledge on how to do some things, like when I hold the sword, it is like I know how to use it. But, at the same time, it is the first time I have held the sword, and it is similar to magic. So during the past years, I have been training. He looked at me for a while, probably thinking about what I said, and then answered, "I see. But what about the egg? I know it is something special. You ran straight to it as if you knew it would hatch today." I was hoping he would not ask about Sylvie, because it would be bad if I said that a ROB just gave me the egg of a dragon that Arthur Leywin should get from what is a deity in that world, so I just told the truth. After training 1 day with my magic, it just appeared in front of me. Grandpa seemed to think about it for a while and didn't ask more questions. He probably knew I didn't tell him all the details, but it seemed he didn't want to pressure me to tell him about it. Could you show me the magic? I would show this magic in the dungeon so it would not hurt me if Grandpa knew about it, so I placed my hand in front of me and created some fire, and changing the concentration of mana, the flame turned blue. It took a lot from me at my current stage, but I wanted to show off. I looked at the blue flame and then at Grandpa, but for some reason, he seemed surprised and then turned to a serious look. Then I remembered how the magic system works in this world. There are 2 types of magic: congenital magic, which is based on one's own ability and race, and acquired magic, which is based on the fauna given by the gods and goddesses. Most spells require a specific chant to activate, except for no-chant magic like Firebolt, and the longer the chant, the stronger the magic is. So for me, to create such an intense flame without any chant isn't normal, especially for someone without a blessing. Arthur, I haven't seen any adventurers with magic like yours during my days. When you master it, you will probably be the strongest fire mage in Genkai. I thought about it and then showed Grandpa some more of my magic. Unfortunately, I haven't unlocked the element's deviant forms, but I could still show off. Grandpa, I'm not only limited to fire. After saying that, I created wind and water on my left hand while creating fire and earth on my right hand. Grandpa just looked at the 4 elements floating around my hands and laughed. Ha ha ha, for all the years in this world, there seem to be so many mysteries left. I could understand Grandpa's reaction in this world. People naturally have between 1 to 3 slots for magic and can typically only learn 1 magic per slot. However, most people tend never to have any magic appear. Filling one's first magic slot is somewhat hard to achieve, while filling the second one is harder, and the third one is even harder to fill than the second. In rare cases, a third magic is not obtained, no matter what. It is also possible to use magic without a fauna, though it requires the user to undergo training, and magic used without a fauna is weak compared to magic used with one. So for a boy to use such magic is unbelievable, even if I just display the elements, and let's not talk about when I unlock the deviants. Listen here, Arthur. Many gods would go to war to have someone with magic like yours. You could become the strongest faunaless mortal, but you won't win against first-class adventurers, especially if a god sends a whole familia after you. So what will you do now? Grandpa spoke in a serious tone, which does not often happen, considering he always tries to act like the funny grandpa, so I knew how serious this topic was. After thinking for a while, I decided what I needed to do. I, of course, wanted to stay and watch Bella grow up and then go on an adventure together, but I needed to be strong. When I become a Witticore mage, I will be one of the strongest mortals in this world, and Sylvie needs to be stronger. To do that, she needs to get magic stones, and the best way to get them is in the dungeon. I need to be stronger. Strong enough to protect everyone I care about. I'm no hero that would save every single person, but I'm gonna do everything to protect the people I care about. I paused for a while and looked Grandpa in the eyes. I've decided to become an adventurer. Chapter 4, Preparation. Arthur Leywin. 3 months have passed since my talk with Grandpa. He wasn't against me becoming an adventurer, even if I'm only 7 right now, but we decided that my journey to Orario would start after my 8th birthday. During this time, I spent more time with Bella. She and Sylvie became good friends. It could be because of their similar personalities, especially regarding food. Sylvie also started calling her Auntie Bella, and her speech improved from single words to complete sentences. I haven't been completely slacking the whole time either. I continued to purify my core and broke to dark orange a few weeks ago. While sparring with Grandpa, he said that the way I use my sword on instinct is good, but I should learn how to wield it properly before going to the dungeon. I agree with him, but I wonder why he didn't teach Belle anything in the original Danmachi. That kid could have died on his very first day. So as a good brother, I asked Grandpa to teach her the basics, and I taught her how to deal with boys while I was not around just to be safe. But back to my training. Now that I didn't need to hide my abilities, I started training outside the house and progressed with my beast will. I still could not enter the integrate phase, but when it came to my acquire phase, I successfully used static void stopping time for almost 10 seconds. Something that confused me was that I felt more confident and stronger every time I used it. I don't remember beast wills affecting someone's personality in debate, but I haven't finished the novel while I was still alive, so maybe something like that happened. Another 6 months flew by, with me following the same routine of waking up, spending time with Grandpa and Bella, meditating, and sparring with Grandpa, but now I'm standing in front of Bella's room. Well, she got angry at Grandpa and me after we told her I would leave for Orario soon. She also wanted to go with me, but we told her that she was too young, considering we were physically the same age. It's stupid, but we wanted her to be older and capable of protecting herself before going. I sighed and knocked on her door. "Bella, it's me." She didn't answer, but I could hear some rustling in her room, and after a moment, the door opened. She had red puffy eyes, probably from crying and what should have been an angry look on her face, but it just looked so cute. "Listen, Bella, I know you want to go to Orario, but you still need to learn how to defend yourself and fight monsters." "But Grandpa let you go." "Grandpa let me go because I could protect myself, but you still need to learn." "But brother could protect me." "I'm not strong enough to protect someone yet. So that's why I'm going to Orario." "But I talked with Grandpa, and we decided he let you go when you were 12. "Really?" She quickly stopped sulking and was happy, and before she could think about it again, I tried to divert her attention to something else. "Of course, but we should go to the kitchen before Sylvie eats all the meat." After I said that, she had a horrified expression and ran toward the kitchen. I could only watch with a smile. I knew she would not be this little innocent Bella forever, but I won't let her suffer as Belle would. When I stepped into the kitchen, I could see Bella and Sylvie fighting over a piece of meat, and I could only chuckle at this sight. In 3 months, I would leave for Orario and not see her and Grandpa for a long time. We decided that I would visit them every few months, but still, some part of me wanted to stay with them, with my family. I stopped thinking about it. This is something I need to do. What I need right now is real-life experience and a way for Sylvie to get stronger. The surface monster helped her a bit. But, she would still be considered a weak monster, a level 1 could defeat. Today is the day of my 8th birthday, and my journey will begin soon. My core is at the light orange stage with cracks. With this, I can break through to dark yellow during my travel to Orario. I opened the door, and before I could fully walk out of my room, a white missile slammed into me. Happy birthday, big brother. Ugh. Bella, you're too old to do this. She giggled and pulled me towards the kitchen where Grandpa was, and when I stepped in, I could see my favorite dishes and a cake. I'm going to miss this. Happy birthday, Arthur. Grandpa hugged me before we sat to eat. He gave me his present. Now that you have decided to become an adventurer, you need a real sword. The sword was in a matte black scabbard, and when I drew it out, what greeted me was a straight narrow blade that was thin like a rapier but had a double edge, making it fit for slashing and thrusting. Thank you, Grandpa, I love it. I couldn't stop looking at it. Even if this wasn't a first-class weapon, I smiled like a child. This was my first time holding a real sword, not just a simple wooden one. After doing a few test swings, I was satisfied. It felt perfect from the handle size to the point of balance, so as a last test I decided to infuse it with mana, and it worked. Deciding to try 2 elements at once, it started to shake, and I knew if I continued it would break, so I stopped. We spent the rest of the day together having fun, and when night fell, I could barely sleep. Now I'm standing outside our house while looking at the sky. I could not hold my excitement even if I were sad to leave Grandpa and Bella. Bella was standing beside Grandpa with Sylvie in her arms while crying, and Grandpa had a sad smile. I crouched a bit to be at eye level with Bella and then said, "Don't cry. I'm going to visit for your birthday and bring lots of stories with your favorite heroes. Promise. Promise." She was still sad but had a slight smile. Giving Grandpa a hug, I picked Sylvie from Bella. She jumped on my head while I tried my best not to cry. I spent 8 years with them, and it was hard to leave them now, even if I would visit them again. It wasn't so hard in my past life when I moved out from my parents, but maybe the risk of never returning makes it so hard. Let's not think about it now. You ready, Sylvie? Q. Yes, Papa. And so our journey to Orario began. Chapter 5, Orario. Arthur Leywin. So you ready, kid? Yes, and thank you for giving me a ride to Orario, Uncle Vince. The last time Mr. Vince visited our village, I told him about me becoming an adventurer, hoping he would give me a ride to Orario, and it worked. He even allowed me to live with him until I find my own place. Jumping onto the cart, I found a place to sit during our travel. The ride to Orario will take a few hours, so instead of slacking off, I'm gonna use that time to purify my core and maybe break through to the yellow stage. Giving Sylvie some food, so she won't make a commotion during our ride, I began purifying my core, and just like that, we had already arrived. Unfortunately, I could not enter Orario with Vince due to not having citizenship. Still, fortunately, the line was short, so I waited while admiring the few bits of the city I could see from the gate. Finally. Q. Sylvie wasn't patient like me, but it was finally my turn, so I went forward to the guard, and without saying anything, I gave him the papers Grandpa gave me before I left. The documents included information like my name, age, etc. Of course, someone could enter Orario without them, but it took more time, so I'm thankful. Arthur Leywin, age 8, the purpose of visit aspiring adventurer. Everything is good. You can enter. If you continue straight, you will find the Pantheon, where you can register as an adventurer and get all the necessary information about the dungeon and city. Thanking him, I entered through the gate. Not wasting my time, I went straight to the guild. Passing by Dienset Pharmacy, I started thinking about the potions in this world. The healing potion would work on me and will be necessary when I stay in the dungeon, but what about the mind potion? From how the anime describes mind, it's precisely the same as mana. Is mind just mana with a different name like Excelia and Experience? Q. Papa, stop. I was brought out of my thinking by Sylvie and noticed that I had almost passed the guild building. Thanks, SYLV. Entering the guild, I was greeted by a vast space with counters for adventurers to talk with their advisors and an exchange area. Going to the reception, I was greeted by a silver-haired elf employee. Welcome. I'm Sophie, one of the advisors here. What would your purpose of visit be? Hello, my name is Arthur Leywin, and I'm here to apply here to be an adventurer. She looked at me for a while before handing me the registration paper. If you could fill this form, if you need any help, just ask. Thank you, Miss Sophie. After thanking her, I looked at the form she gave me, and it was simple information like name, age, and adventurer type. There are two types of adventures, one that joins a familia and gets a blessing, and the other is without. Most people use the blessing because you would lose to the weakest monster without it. Maybe if you are a dwarf or a werewolf, you could defeat them with minor injuries, but it's a risk most people wouldn't take. Handing back the form, she looked over it, but when she saw the adventure type I chose, she looked at me with worry. Well, I can understand her, some random kid deciding to enter the dungeon without a falna. Everything is good, but I think you made a mistake with your adventure type. So I'll get you a new foreman. Thank you, Miss Sophie, but everything is correct. I decided to become a faunaless adventurer, and yes, I know the risk. She tried to convince me to change my decision, but I made it clear that I had made up my mind, so after a while, she gave up and stamped my form making me an official adventurer. I'm not planning to join a familia right now because I can grow on my own, but if I did, I would choose a strong god that would help me if some adventures went missing or a god suddenly went back to heaven. In the end, Sophie became my advisor probably because she wanted to change my mind about getting a falna, but sorry to say that won't happen. Q. Papa, food. Yes, SYLV, I'm gonna get you food, just wait. We were on our way to the hostess of fertility to eat. But then I remembered something. Sylvie had been on my head since we entered Orario, but no one had pointed it out. Usually, someone having a monster on their head would attract people's attention, maybe because of Sylvie's white fox form. Everyone sees her as a pet, not a monster. Q. Stop thinking, Papa. I'm starving. Yes, SYLV. Entering through the double doors, we entered the pub and looked around, seeing people eating and drinking while hearing shouts and cheers from the adventurers celebrating some occasion. Welcome to the hostess of fertility. How can I help you, dear customer? I was greeted by a waitress with gray hair and gray eyes. I knew who she was when I saw her, and the weird feeling that washed over my body confirmed it. This was Sirflova, also known as the goddess Freya. Fortunately, the effect of what I assumed was her charm didn't work on me for some reason, so I answered her. Ah, hello, a table for one. She seemed confused, but for some reason, it changed to happiness. She quickly recomposed herself and guided me to an empty seat near the pub's corner with a sad smile. Here is the menu, sir. Personally, I would recommend today's special. There wasn't any harm in trying it. If I didn't like it, I would order something else next time. Well, I guess I'm gonna try it. Great. May 1 special. She shouted without even leaving and sat at the opposite side of the table without even asking. Of course, some people started looking at us, and the atmosphere felt awkward because of it, but I figured that she saw something special about my soul and wanted to know about me. Q. Papa, she smells weird. Before I could answer, I heard a surprised gasp from Seer and saw her looking at Sylvie. Oh, my, what a cute fox. I didn't notice it before. She said it without leaving her eyes were from Sylvie. Yes, she is shy, so she tends to stay out of people's view, but I haven't introduced myself yet. I'm Arthur Leywin. My advisor recommended this pub, so I decided to check it out. I'm Sirflova, one of the waitresses at the Hostess. We continued our little chat until my food arrived, and Mamma Mia scared Seer away. But if I'm being honest, I was enjoying her company. So after I finished my food, I paid for it and went to the market area to find Vince. Sirflova/Freya. Serving another customer, I returned to the counter. I was currently disguised as Sirflova, an identity I used to have a break from my duties as a goddess and can act more like myself without thinking what other people would think. Sadly, today was a boring day without anything special happening, but that's when a boy entered the Hostess, a boy I hadn't seen. I'm always interested in new arrivals, you never know when he will appear. I have been looking for him for many years, but I have yet to find him. There were people I thought were him, but in the end, they always fell for the curse of my charm. My Arthur, someone that would love me for me and not what I represent, will I ever find you? Looking at the boy again, he looked around 10 years old. His hair was a mix of white and wheat blonde at the ends, and he had beautiful lavender eyes. What set him apart from other children was how he carried himself and the aura that surrounded him. An aura of someone above ordinary people, similar to the one we gods or royalty hold. That's when I decided to see his soul, and what I saw surprised me. Not one but two souls, something I had never seen during my stay in Genkai. Something that should be impossible, but it was so mesmerizing, one soul shining bright with hope while the other filled with sadness and an unbearable pain swirling together, making something new. This view is so captivating, I needed to know more. Even if he wasn't my Arthur, I wanted to know how something like that would be possible, and before I knew it, I had already started moving toward him. Welcome to the Hostess of Fertility. How can I help you, dear customer? I could feel my charm activate and lost hope again, but he just looked at me for a while before answering. Ah, hello. A table for one. He answered as if any other person had asked him, which confused me. Even with my charm activating subconsciously, he should have had a reaction. Could he actually be him? After he placed his order, I heard a cue from somewhere. Looking at where the cue came from, I saw Arthur, and on his head, a white fox was resting while looking at me. Was it a monster? No, it didn't emit the same aura as the monsters I had seen before. Interesting. We continued to talk for a while, but unfortunately, Mia made me leave. Even as a goddess, I was scared of angering her. I still got some information about Arthur, and to my surprise, he decided to be a formless adventurer. I could not lose someone who could finally resist my charm. Deciding to have one of my executives protect him in the shadows, I returned to work.